What it is, good people, it's your boy Pete Double, one half of the Bootleg Cable Podcast. How y'all doing today? Hopefully y'all having a great day, and if you're not, do your best to make it one. So we talking about Brett Favre today. Brett Favre has gotten caught up in a scandal where he is a part of a group of people that are stealing funds from the state of Mississippi, specifically funds that were allocated for welfare, right? This happens a little too often, and obviously when it gets out, people get in outrage and stuff like that. So each year Mississippi allocates $86 million worth of money for welfare. Welfare would mean food stamps. Welfare would mean giving people money to pay for childcare that fall within a certain income bracket that they might not be able to cover those funds, and it's kind of just to help them out. So welfare money in general is for people in need. Obviously, Brett Favre is a former NFL quarterback. He has a lot of money. He don't need welfare funds, right? So he got caught up with some text messages. One of the people was a guy by the name of Phil Bryant. He had some text messages that he was sending back and forth to him. To kind of quote one of the text messages, he says, "I'm not sure how we can get this facility built for V-ball, but you are the governor and on our side. And it's actually a good thing, a great thing." Phil says his response is, "We could do that. Just get me some numbers and I'll find a way," right? So initially it sounded a little innocent, right? But if you look at some more text messages, he says, Brett Favre says to Phil Bryant, "We obviously need your help big time, and time is working against us." Phil says, "We're going to get there. This was a great meeting, but we have to follow the law. I'm too old for federal prison." So Phil knows what's going on, and Phil is one of the people that have pled not guilty to stealing the funds, because he states, which is some bullshit, he states that he didn't know exactly where the funds came from to get this volleyball stadium built for the school that Brett Favre's daughter attends. In another text message to another member of the government, Brett Favre says, "If you were to pay me, is there any way the media could find out where it came from and how much?" Right? So obviously he knows that whatever he's doing is wrong, because it's not, I don't have the full text messages, but he knows that the money is not coming from a place where it's supposed to come from, or the money that he's asking for is obviously funds that's allocated for something else, and he's trying to use it for a reason that's not within those reasons to have those funds allocated. So with this whole thing, a lot of people have been really, really upset about the media coverage, or the lack of media coverage. And people have been making it known all over the internet that they're unhappy with this situation. And they're saying, I guess comparatively, when it comes to Brett Favre, it's like a little, it's down at the ticker on the bottom, and it's not like a main story. Mississippi is known as being one of the poorest states in the United States, probably the poorest state in the United States. So that also adds to a lot of the reason why people feel the way they feel about Brett being involved in stealing these funds. So a lot of people also use different examples of black football players or athletes that have gotten themselves into trouble over the years, and they talk about how their name is plastered all over ESPN, all over ABC, NBC, CBS. I haven't heard too much about it, but it's funny that since people have started to complain about the lack of coverage on the internet, I'm starting to see a lot more about this whole subject. I think that when people think about this whole situation, you have to think about media in general, right? You have to think about media and how things are covered and why they're covered, X, Y, and Z. We also got to think of who the people are that are being covered. A lot of people in society, especially sports fans, look up to Brett Favre as one of their heroes. And you, as a person, you don't want to believe certain negative things about your heroes. For example, Mike Vick. When Mike Vick, got caught up in his scandal, he was like a great quarterback, especially for the black folks. He was of the hip hop generation, seemed to be a really cool dude. He brought a certain dynamic to the quarterback position that has never happened before. You know what I mean? He was a running quarterback. And yes, there were other running quarterbacks before him, but he just kind of did it the best at the time, and he did it the coolest. Mike Vick was a cool ass dude, the visor, all that. So obviously he got caught up in the dogfighting scandal, right? And again, he was a hero to a lot of black folks, specifically black folks of the hip hop community. And it sucked for us to see the whole dogfighting scandal get played out all day, every day, all over the media. And obviously it was a negative thing. But with that situation, we have to look at how people look at dogs in society, as well as how people view black folks in society. A lot of people in society have a very negative view of black folks, no matter what part of life or what walk of life that you come from. So it's almost easier to tear down black folks in general because of, one, who is responsible for the media, who we consider our heroes, the backgrounds from which they came, all of that stuff. There's a lot that goes into that. Now fast forward the whole Brett Favre situation. He's a hero to a lot of people. A lot of people really, really look up to Brett Favre. He's, you know what I mean? Damn near football god, just like Tom Brady is without the championships. Country boy, the Republican dude, probably voted for Trump, X, Y, and Z. That kind of character, a lot of people don't want to get seen torn down. Whether we like it or not, that's just the way it is. And a lot of times with a situation like this, we have to kind of wait to see more of the details, and we got to kind of wait for the investigation to get to where it needs to get to before we really, really start diving into the coverage of it. At this point, it's a lot of moving parts. It's not just Brett Favre that's involved. It's the whole Mississippi government. So a lot of people are under investigation, and they have a lot that they need to answer for. So I think that I don't want to sit here and try to defend Brett Favre. Like, whatever he did, it was definitely a piece of shit move, because they said that he paid back some of the money. One of the things that he did was he accepted $1 million, I think it was $2 million worth of monies to do like speeches and stuff like that. And for people that don't know, a lot of people that are retired football players, athletes, musicians, politicians, stuff like that, they get money for speaking engagement, large amounts of money for different speaking engagements. Barack Obama does it. He gets paid a whole bunch of money to go and speak at different places. Trump, all of them. And Brett Favre is amongst those people. So the money, again, came from welfare funds. And like they said in the graphic that I put up earlier, they allocate $80-something million worth of money for welfare, and 90% of the applications for that money gets denied, right? So only 10% of the applications for this money that's allocated for the poor people actually get the money. So we have to look at why that is. And obviously that's a part of corrupt government. And Brett Favre, being who he is, he has the connections to those people in the corrupt government to get the stuff that he wants to get done. His daughter goes to the school. She plays volleyball. Obviously, he wants her to be able to play in a state-of-the-art facility, whatever. And then even with that whole facility, I don't know how long it took them to build it and da-da-da-da-da. So there's a lot to unpack there as well. But just speaking about how the outrage over the coverage, it definitely should be something that's a little more looked into. It should be something that's a little bit more on the forefront versus, Coach Udoka from the Boston Celtics that recently got caught up in some kind of scandal where he cheated on Nia Long and blah, blah, blah. And that's like all over ESPN all day, every day. But Brett Favre, again, is just on the bottom in the ticker. Like, they're not really talking about it, or they talked about it one time. So people are trying to draw the comparisons between how when black athletes get caught up in stuff and what happens when white athletes get caught up in stuff. So again, like I said, it's a couple things y'all need to think of and understand why and how and look at all the moving parts and whatever. So again, Brett Favre is a piece of shit. If, this turns out to be true, which, again, if you look at the text message, he's already kind of admitting guilt, or he's already kind of admitting that the money that he's asking for is not coming from the place it's supposed to come from. It's not a government grant or anything like that. It's not private investors. It's money that's allocated for poor people. And a lot of times the mistake that we make as people is we think about poor people as black folks only. Mississippi has a large population. I don't know what the population of black folks is to white folks. I don't know what they considered poor as far as annual income, what the poverty line there is, or whatever. But as black folks, we need to stop trying to play the victim all the time. I hate that a lot of people try to do that. We need to do better and be more diligent in trying to get the things that we want covered the way that we want. And I think one of the ways that we did that, and I stated it a little bit earlier, is us getting on social media and speaking of the outrage that we have on how and why and da. So now, since I've started to see more stuff on social media, the media is actually covering it more. So I think that we need to understand how we can change the narrative and use those tools to do that and not play the victim at the same time. So I don't know what's going to become of this. It sucks that, again, poor people are ending up on the shitty end of the stick. And I think that, again, we need to stop looking at black folks as the only poor folks in the United States. Like, when the word poor is said, black folks shouldn't be the first that comes to mind. But the media has programmed us to do that. So obviously that's the case. So y'all tell me how y'all feel about the situation. Peace.